Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
I knew it was going to be the case. I knew it was going to happen because I was the only one yesterday saying what I was saying. At least outside the establishment, I was the only one saying. And so the establishment picked up on it, played sound bites, and it's quite a teachable moment. And I want to spend some time on it today, and whole gobs of other stuff to do today, folks. So let's just get going here.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Open Line Friday. That means we try to take more phone calls than usual. That won't be hard to do. If we take 3 calls today, it'll be more than usual. No, seriously, Open Line Friday is about whatever you want to talk about. It's hard to imagine anybody could want to talk about something I haven't brought up, but if there is, have at it, folks. 800-282-2882. Email address, lrushbo@eibnet.us. We'll get to the Al Smith dinner in a couple of seconds here, folks. I've got audio sound bites from it. And I have my own interpretation and characterization of it. First, I got a note from somebody. I have to share this with you. Hey, Rush, when did being a Christian become a get-out-of-jail card? And I said, well, but what do you mean? Well, look at Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile said, I'm a Christian woman and such. I know what it is to be persecuted. I'm not going to answer your question, Kelly. Screw you, Kelly. I'm coming out here in the middle of the night with stuff that's been stolen. I'm a Christian woman, and I know what it is to be persecuted. So she invoked Christianity as a get-out-of-jail card. You can't ask me this. You can't demand that I answer this. You can't force me on this because I am a Christian woman. How does that work out for Christian bakeries? How did that work out for Christian photography shops? Playing the Christian card got Donna Brazile out of jail, but it doesn't help anybody else. I thought that was an interesting point to make. And I wanted to throw that out before I forgot anything else. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I found something via Stanley Kurtz at National Review. Has been doing some great work for the past 8 years trying to alert people to what the Barack Obama agenda actually is and what it means for specific people, such as people who live in suburbia. He has been doing yeoman's work trying to inform the reader base at National Review of the real dangers and pitfalls posed by this cabal of Chicago Alinsky-ites that has really taken over the Democrat Party. And his recent article has unearthed, a recent column, Stanley Kurtz, has unearthed a quote from this Robert Kramer guy. Now, Kramer is the guy that James O'Keefe videotaped a secret video, Project Veritas. For those of you real into Project Veritas. And he's the guy that is an Alinskyite. Obama, his roots go back to Obama's community organizing days. He's the husband of Jan Schakowsky, the Democrat congresswoman from Illinois. He's the guy that it has been learned visited the White House 340-some-odd times, and 42 of those visits were with Obama. And he's the guy we found out via O'Keefe's videos that was arranging and orchestrating, buying, and paying for the hiring of homeless people and other activists to go disrupt Donald Trump rallies. He's the guy. And then there was another guy named Scott Fovel who was working for him. They both supposedly have been fired. But Robert Kramer's not going to be fired from anything in the Democrat Party. He's going to be moved laterally or promoted or what have you. He's not going to be fired. These are the people who essentially hire and pay for agitators and protesters to make it look like average, normal, everyday people are appalled by Republicans. So the Democrats hire, in many cases, homeless people or immigrants, or people that really don't even know what's going on. They give them provocative T-shirts to wear and tell them provocative things to say, and they send them, say, for example, to a Trump rally. And they are to cause trouble. They are to cause violence. They are to instigate violence, making it look like Trump supporters are a bunch of lawless rubes beating up people they don't like. And this has been, but it's not exclusive to Trump. These people have been doing this for as long as I've been doing this program. That's why there's a term for this, rent-a-mob. We find it that George Soros, we don't find out, we confirm George Soros pays for all of this via his donations and his various PACs. But the point of it is, it's all fake. It's all an illusion. It is made to look, and the media plays right along. It's made to look like your average, ordinary American is appalled by your average, ordinary Republican or conservative. And it's made to look like the average, ordinary American is so disgusted that they just can't handle it, and they show up and they protest because the Republicans are just unacceptable. And none of it is real. It's all bought and paid for. It's all orchestrated. It's scripted. It is strategized and planned. The media plays along by making it look like it's organic and spontaneous when it's nothing more than a script that is being followed by activists. And in many cases, they're not even really activists. They're just people plucked off the park bench or the street in whatever city the activity is planned. They are paid, in some cases, $1,500, in other cases, $50, to just go out and raise hell and start fights and engage in violence. And the media's role is to tell the story that the Republicans at the rally caused it. Well, in Stanley Kurtz's column at National Review Online, it was either yesterday or the day before, he had this quote from Kramer in 2007, Robert Kramer, who published Stand Up Straight, How Progressives Can Win. It's a tactical handbook for the left that he wrote while in prison. The guy is a convicted felon, and he is at the top of the food chain of the Democrat Party planning all of these so-called organic protests. Robert Kramer, the husband of Democrat Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, the guy, 42 personal face-to-face visits with Obama in the Oval Office, 340-some-odd visits to the White House in general. While in jail in 2007, while in prison, writes a tactical handbook for the left called Stand Up Straight, How Progressives Can Win. By the way, he's in jail for tax evasion and bank fraud. And this, from pages 74, 75, and 76 of the handbook, is Kramer's advice on how to handle conservatives. And the reason I'm choosing this is because it is exactly what I've told you one of their techniques is, and they're using it at this very moment. In general, writes Mr. Kramer, our strategic goal with people who have become conservative activists is not to convert them. That isn't going to happen. It is to demoralize them, to deactivate them. We need to deflate their enthusiasm, to make them lose their ardor, and above all, their self-confidence. A way to demoralize conservative activists is to surround them with the echo chamber of our positions and assumptions. We need to make them feel that they are not mainstream, to make them feel isolated. We must isolate Republicans and conservatives ideologically and use the progressive echo chamber, meaning the media and the blogs and whatever. By defeating them and isolating them ideologically, we demoralize conservative activists directly. Then they begin to quarrel among themselves or blame each other for defeat in isolation, and that demoralizes them even further. This is exactly, my instincts never fail me. This is exactly what I've known this is all about. It's all about deflating you, demoralizing you, depressing you, suppressing you. And it's created the infighting. Look, we can't unify around anything on our side, not even the concept of beating them. We've got factions at war with each other. We've got conservatives saying vicious things about other conservatives that they never even say about Democrats. We have conservatives in the media. We have conservatives in politics, conservatives in elective office who sometimes say more caustic, critical things of fellow conservatives than they ever say about Democrats. And this guy Kramer says that this is what we hope to achieve. So how does this manifest itself? Okay, so they hire a bunch of people to go protest the Trump rally in Chicago. They go and they get in, they start fisticuffs. Media shows up. What? Indiana. The Indiana Religious Freedom Law. They make it look like the entire country is outraged at whatever it is Republicans are doing. Religious freedom law, simple law saying that your constitutional right to believe in whatever religion you want cannot be abridged. Well, the left must make you change your religious belief if they're going to force various culture things on you. So they go into Indiana. After that law is passed, a majority of people vote for it. It's legitimately democratically passed. The left can't put up with it, so they flood the zone with people that are made to look like normal, average, everyday Americans appalled at what Republicans are doing. It's 5 or 10 people, 15 or 20, echoed by the media, amplified by the media, and it's made to look like the same thing with the Trump rally. It's made to look like the whole country's appalled, the whole country's outraged. You end up feeling, my God, I'm losing my country. Oh, my God, I'm in such a minority of people. When did this happen? When did the left overtake us? And they haven't. It's all by design to dispirit you, demoralize you, and now it is confirmed from this clown Kramer and that is reason my instincts are right on this is because this is part and parcel of Alinskyism anyway. You isolate the target, you chop the head off, you keep chopping whatever it takes. But it's psychological operations, psyops, warfare, whatever you want to call it. It's exactly what it is because they know they're in the minority. At a Trump rally, you've got 10,000 people who want to be there and another 5,000 that can't get in. You've got 15 or 20 paid reprobates inside. And at the end of the event, the media tells us that the 15 to 20 represent the country, and the 10,000 inside are the minority, the screwballs, the oddballs, and we've got to get rid of them. And people believe what they see in the media. And it's, pessimism and negativity are easy. It doesn't take any work to be pessimistic. It doesn't take any work to fail, but success and optimism require applied effort. And this has been going on for I don't know how long, but intensely since Obama hit the United States Senate. Before Obama even began to run for the presidency is when all this began to happen. So the point of all this is, you now, at least those of you listening to me, know full well that all of this so-called opposition to Trump during the campaign, it was fake. It was contrived. It was made. It was designed to create these circumstances that we have today. And what are those? The circumstances we have today. Trump is, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to American politics. Trump is dangerous. Trump is insane. Trump is unhinged. Trump is off his meds, whatever it is. And the people that support him are too. Whereas the vast majority of American people are all in for Hillary Clinton and all in for the Democrat. But it's not the case. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying any of this in terms of the election and how it's going to turn out. This is independent of that. But except for the fact that they have succeeded, they always do succeed. They succeed in turning us against each other on the right. They succeed in depressing and dispiriting people. They succeed in taking themselves, who I believe are still a minority of thought and bodies in this country, and converting themselves into what appears to be a massive majority where we all think we're losing the country. I'm not losing it. We've lost it. When did this happen? We woke up one day, and one day 80% of people oppose gay marriage, and the next week 80% support it? When did that happen? How did that happen? Well, it didn't. It was made to look like it happened, and the people who had been rendered pessimistic and fatalistic caved. They stopped opposing it because they didn't think they had the numbers. We're being steamrolled on all this stuff. And good old Mr. Kramer here has, as they always do, if you can find it, they'll spell out exactly what they're doing. Therefore, when they start bellyaching about things, they generally are bellyaching about the things they are doing. When they start accusing us of stuff, it's almost without fail that you can make book on the fact that they are engaging in those very actions or activities. I think this is a huge point, folks. Not because I have been predicting it or because my instincts. This is crucial to understand that all of this that comprises liberalism, progressivism, the left, it's all psychological operations. It's all illegitimate. Well, they've got their supporters, don't misunderstand. They've got plenty of people that buy into this stuff, too. But their technique here for quelling opposition, their technique for forcing people just give up. I wonder how many elected Republicans think that they're so outnumbered it's senseless to fight back, that they'll never win another election if they fight back because they're going to be angering people, say moderates and independents, that they need to win their next election. But they don't because they've assumed the Democrats have already hoovered all those people up. You know, pessimism and defeatism and fatalism, they're deadly things. And this is exactly what these people have tried to do. They couldn't do it without the media. I know. They could not do this. They could not pull any of this off without the willing accomplices in the media. But again, you must realize that we don't have a media. We call it the media, but that's not what they do. It is not who they are. I still maintain to you that the establishment, whoever they are, whatever you're going to call them, this degree of panic and fear that they are obviously facing over Trump and his claim to wait till the election to actually decide whether he's going to contest it, this is irrational. This is the teachable moment thing that I learned. I have not enough time to talk to you about it right in this break because I've got to go to a break. But you sit tight. There's much more, as I know you can tell. Okay, now what are we to make of this? Timothy Cardinal Dolan says that Trump and Hillary were civil in private. The Al Smith dinner last night, you know what, folks, we're going to be getting into this in more detail as the program unfolds, but you know who was in that room last? In that room was the New York establishment and the elites, and they all must have been wearing corsets and whatever else to constrain movement. I never saw a bigger group of uptight people in my... this is the teachable moment. Over the course of my career, as you people well know, I found myself in certain circumstances, been roundly criticized, called all kinds of names, racist, sexist, insensitive, and so forth, all because we have arrived at a moment in our nation's cultural evolution where people on the left simply cannot laugh. They literally have no sense of humor, particularly about themselves. I kept hearing that the Al Smith dinner, self-deprecating humor, right? Means you're supposed to make fun of yourself and you make fun of others, but they can't. They cannot handle it. They don't think anything is funny, particularly if it's about them. And their reactions are just off the charts, like booing Trump and demanding he get off the dais last night for quoting what Hillary has said in these emails. Open Line Friday, L. Rushmo behind the golden EIB microphone. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. Here's Robert in Champaign, Illinois, as we head to the phones. See what I'm doing? I'm getting the phones early. We've got some good ones lined up here, and I want to get to them because they're going to provide transitions to other areas. Robert in Champaign, great to have you, sir. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Thank you very much. Good.
So I just wanted to comment really quickly on what you had said earlier about how well they make the conservatives feel isolated. So I'm a young guy on a college campus, and they do it really, really well here. And I think for the past, month since the big release of the sexual whatever tape from the hot mic, since then it's just felt like, gosh, I'm really alone here. There's nobody who feels the way I feel about politics at all. And it just makes me, you don't even want to really go out and vote.
Let me tell you why that is, Robert. Some of it's attitudinal and some of it's psychological. But the practical effect of it is to silence other people on that campus that you might be in total agreement with. They really frighten people into speaking up. So you cite the Access Hollywood tape, and it comes out, and you think, you know what it is. It's politically timed. It's questionable. It's, where's it been for the last 25 years of Trump's life? What, 10 years, whatever. Why now? You're skeptical of it, but you seem surrounded. You seem overwhelmed. You seem outnumbered. And everybody else that thinks the way you do, too, feels the same way. Say, shut up. Don't say anything. Because if you do, that mob comes after you. They zero in on you. They focus on you. They try to humiliate you. And it's a now, your students on campus, I'm not accusing them of being part of the organizational structure. They are, if you will, the sponges. They're the people that soak all this up. They see what the strategists that the Democrats want to see. Remember, they've been educated. Their minds are skulls full of mush anyway by now because of the public education system they went to and the professors they have on campus. Their minds are already mushed up now. So they buy into all of this that they see, but they end up feeling superior. They feel like they are in the majority, and therefore they laud that over you, and it makes you feel in the minority, makes you feel really outnumbered, and you start doubting yourself, and you start going through all this pessimism and fatalism and so forth. And it's exactly how it is designed to work. And it's then meant to also stoke controversies among people who agree with you. Because some of them are going to say, Robert, just shut up. Don't cause any trouble. It's not worth it. And you're going to say, no, this is outrageous. We can't permit this. So you end up squabbling with your own side, not against them, but against yourselves. And I think the more people can become aware that all of this is orchestrated. Now, again, I'm not saying that these fellow students don't believe this. They do. Remember, they're the sponges. They're the objects of this effort here. And it makes them insufferable because they're arrogant and they end up being conceited, and their attitude is one of superiority over you. But I think the thing that you have to keep in mind, or try to, is that you are not outnumbered. Maybe you are on campus, and maybe you are in a classroom or two, but in terms of the country, you're not. And that's what they really want. They want you feeling like you're such an oddball. And the things that you think are so out of the mainstream that you can't possibly hold on to them. Remember, they admit they don't expect to convert you, Robert. They're not trying to convert you. They're trying to shame you. They're trying to humiliate you. They're trying to silence you. They're trying to make sure you are not a factor. They don't talk to you and say, hey, join it. Come on, man. You can't possibly think that they're out for blood. They want to destroy you. They want to humiliate you. They're not trying to convert you. The left knows that that's a losing proposition. They're not even going to try. If it happens, it's a bonus. But it's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you feel the exact way you do. And it's hard. We all face it. We all face it. Oh, yes, even I, in ways that you wouldn't even believe. Hell yeah, we all do, folks. We all face being ostracized, feeling like we're loons and oddballs. That's the objective. And when you get to our side and their membership in the establishment, they don't want to feel like that. They don't want to think people think they're loons. So they go along with these people. What are things that make me feel? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's. If I thought long and hard enough, I'll give you an example. I'm not. I don't. No. I don't care what they think. I'm not telling you care what they think, but I can give you examples where, off the top of my head, I can't think of any. But they're all over. Have you ever seen me invited anywhere but Fox News? Doesn't happen. Oh, no. I'm not talking about being invited to be a guest. Let me save this. You're distracting me here. I'm not trying to run out on this. I'll be happy to give you examples. My only point, it happens to all of us. They work this technique on everybody. That's the whole point of it. Your fellow students, Robert, on campus, they're dupes. They're not independent thinkers. They're just their followers. And they want to be the cool kids, and that's what they think is cool, is their way of thinking and all that. Let's see. One more before we have to go to the break. It's Bob in Spokane. Great to have you on the program, Bob. How are you?
Hey, Rush, great. Good morning. How you doing?
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Listen, I can fully understand why yesterday you were beside yourself and right up toward the limit. Here we have these people who present themselves as guardians of the sanctity of the results of elections, and now we know they're getting rid of mobs and with the accomplices in the media trying to overturn an election and make it look like the people, the 80% who said yes, are a bunch of loons, and they're in the right, in the majority, and they thump their chest talking about, the sanctity of elections and will you promise to follow it? And in the background, they're doing exactly the opposite.
Exactly right. They're the ones monkeying with it all, like this guy Kramer at Obama headquarters at the Clinton campaign. They're the ones. I've got a story here you're not going to believe. Coming up right after your call. But I want to expand on something. What he's referring to is yesterday. I really was. Even for me, folks, I am normally a reserved. I have my energy. And I have my days where I will raise my voice. But yesterday, I was barely able to stay within my own boundaries. Because I just found it incredible that no one, not a single person at any of the TV networks, at any of the cable news networks, at any of the newspapers and their websites and blogs, not a single person allowed for the fact that Trump was engaging in showmanship, that Trump was sending a message to his supporters and trying to keep them bucked up. Not every single one of them thought that Donald Trump was actually going to try to get the military on his side and launch a military coup if he lost the election. And I don't know what it takes to believe that. All Donald Trump said was that he was going to wait until the election to decide whether or not it makes sense to take a look at it. And knowing what he knows, or what we all know about the WikiLeaks emails and the Project Veritas video and so forth, it's the only common sense thing to say. But they went out and said that Donald Trump said he will not accept the results. And they're out there saying it's the first time in American history that somebody has actively said they will not accept the results. He didn't say that. It's not what's going to happen. The willing suspension of common sense here is breathtaking to me. But this is what I keep referring to today as the teachable moment. It is highly instructive. There's got to be some fear that is behind all this. There's got to be a lack of confidence on the Hillary side or the establishment side, wherever you want to characterize it. There's got to be some real fear here that this may not go the way they all want it to go and are telling us with their polls and everything else how it is going to go. And the idea that they have no ability to know when somebody is yanking their chain. They have no ability to know when they're being toyed with. They don't have the slightest bit of ability to crack a smile and laugh something off. It really is instructive. And it's something that's happened to them, not us. To be so tightly wound. I must, by the way, change. I said everybody looked like they were wearing a corset last night, other than Maria Bartiromo. The rackage on display there obviously was not constrained by a corset. But I meant attitudinally. I've never seen so many people so uptight. I've never seen this kind of inability to apply any kind of common sense and to react hysterically. There was a national media hysteria, and it's still going on over this. It's not warranted. It's way out of proportion, and it's got to stand for something. It's got to be a reason for it. And I think it's fear, maybe some other things rolled in. Anyway, let me take another brief time out so I don't lose place here in the programming format. We will be right back. You know, I just checked the email. Rush, how do you know Trump didn't mean it? Come on. How do I know Trump didn't mean it? There's not a moment in time, a shred in my body, there's not a molecule, there's not an atom in my body that ever thought what Donald Trump said, what he said, meant that he was going to refuse to accept the outcome of the election. It's not what he said. That's what they want people to think he said, but they must be afraid of something. The next day, this is my point about them, the no sense of humor. Trump goes out, and how does he react to the controversy? There's a number of ways you can react to this. You can, after the debate, when everybody in the media, everybody, even people you think are friendlies are just practically having cows over this. You can go back to your hotel or get on your airplane and fly away, start wringing your hands. Oh, my God, I really blew. Oh, geez. And you maybe think you call a press conference. Hey, you guys misunderstood. I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I didn't know that. You could do that. You could sleep on it and then do a press conference the next morning. What did Trump do? He waited till his next rally, and he went out and confirmed. What he said, I want to pledge to you, lest there be anybody who doesn't understand what I'm talking about. I pledge, I promise, I will accept the results of the election on November 8th. Pause. If I win. Crowd gets it, laughs uproariously. That was Trump tweaking them. That was Trump sticking it in a little further. He's toying with them. They don't get it. The lack of sense of humor, the being wound so tight to not understand satire, parody, or to understand somebody's personality. We all have different personalities. I understand Trump from the day he came down that escalator. And it's not because I've played golf with him a couple of times. I know the way he thinks and the way he says things to people, talks to people, the way he makes points, the way he tries to tell people what he thinks, the way he tries to be persuasive. It isn't hard. But it's as I say, teachable moment for me because they don't understand. For example, talk about myself for a minute, when I do this program, there's a whole heck of a lot of it here where I'm just trying to be funny. Outrageously funny, a little over the line funny, push the envelope funny. That's where they lose it. We're not allowed to push the envelope anymore. We're not allowed to cross the line of propriety that they define. There isn't anything funny. There isn't anything funny about whatever it is I'm talking about. So they take things that are intended as humorous comments or a joke, and they attach serious political meaning to it, and then proceed to get profoundly, deeply outraged and say it's unacceptable, this is intolerable, this will not stand. And they're doing the same thing to Trump, or trying to, but his supporters all get it. But Mr. Limbaugh, it's not his supporters that are the problem. Trump must engage in outreach and try to explain to the people who don't get it what he's trying to say. Well, I understand all that. I understand that thinking. But that isn't my point. My point is that all of this is this near unanimous belief in something that genuinely is, you talk about unhinged. To believe Trump said what you think he said, but he didn't say it? Didn't even say it. To go out then believe he said it, or try to convince other people he said it, convince yourself what he really meant. It's unhinged. If these people had been around in the 1700s, we'd have never had a revolution. They would have never tolerated the founding fathers' objections to King George. They would have wanted to put in jail people like James Madison and Patrick Henry and all that because they dared speak out against the establishment. We'd have never had the revolution if people in the Democrat Party today had been ruling the roost in the media back then. And the time just keeps zipping by here, folks. I have to take another break. So Trump is at one of his 3 rallies today. 3, maybe 4 rallies. Is in North Carolina, and the crowd is on fire. The crowd is just electric. Our microphones are there, and we're rolling tape. We'll have audio sound bites as we get into the next hour of Open Line Friday. And lots of other stuff to go yet, folks, so don't go anywhere. Let me ask you a question, folks. How many people in the establishment have said Donald Trump is unacceptable? Obama said it. Hillary has said it. Every Democrat, Tim Kaine, Biden, they've all said he's unacceptable. Even some Republicans have said he's unacceptable. Donald Trump is unacceptable. They're the ones trying to tell us that Trump poses this great threat, that he might not accept the results of the election. But who is it that's actually telling us who and who isn't unacceptable? And that's Trump. And they're telling us about him.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Yeah, Donald Trump's unacceptable. We're not going to put up with Donald Trump. Nobody should put up. Why is Trump unacceptable? That means over half the country's unacceptable as far as these people are concerned. It's a classic example. We can't have Trump. Look at what Trump said. He won't accept the result of the election, which is not what he said. Well, they're saying they won't accept him. It's Open Line Friday, 800-282-2882. If you want to be on the program, the email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. I'm sorry, eibnet.us. Sorry, I keep screwing this. I need to write this down so it's in front of me, because I got 25 years of syllabic memory here. lrushbo@eibnet.us. I thought of something, and I made a comment in the last hour that I'm just like you. I know what it's like to feel ostracized. I know what it's like. They work it on all of us, folks. Certainly. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'll give you the greatest, not the greatest, but I'll give you a good example of it. It wasn't that long ago, maybe, I don't even remember, 5-8 years ago, that I was approached to join a group of people that wanted to buy the St. Louis Rams. I was going to be a minority investor in the project. And somehow that information leaked out. Now, I had been approached by people who knew me, and there had been no more public fan of the NFL for 24 years than me. From the environmentalist wacko picks to violating my no guest rule by having football people on Fridays, especially Super Bowl week. There was no question that I was such an NFL fan that I had people calling here saying, stick to the issues. We don't want to hear about this. But then somebody leaked to the media that I was in this group that was going to try to buy the Rams. You know what happened next? a bunch of reporters started writing stories quoting me, things I'd never said about wishing for the return of slavery and other abominational things I had never said that were just totally made up that turned out having emanated from Media Matters. These reporters were heralded as doing great work. A reporter for the New York Daily News went to a couple of NFL locker rooms, armed with these quotes, seeking out black players. Do you want somebody like this owning a team? We can't have somebody who wants to return to slavery in this league. No way. And it mushroomed and it blew up. I'm sure those of you who were listening around didn't remember it. The thing is, everything about it was manufactured and made up. And the reporters that engaged in this were heralded as doing Pulitzer-type work. So I am entirely familiar with how the left operates. By the way, what harm could there have ever been with somebody like me owning a smidgen of an NFL team? But even that was unacceptable. And the reason it was unacceptable is the NFL's mainstream, and they were not going to let that happen, not me be perceived as mainstream or human or any of this, simply because I was effective as a conservative. And the same thing's being done to Trump, the exact same hysteria. Something he didn't say is being reported as something he did say, and furthermore, something that he really means, to the point they're trying to convince people that Trump might go so far as to mount a coup if he loses. It's hysteria beyond any boundaries of reality. So I ask myself, why? What's behind this hysteria? Why can't, if it's so outrageous what Trump said, well, you laugh it off and make fun of the guy and just ridicule him and so forth. Why this hand-wringing outrage? I'm not even sure it's mock outrage. I think these people are genuinely blown away. I think they really do think what they think. Some of them do. And to them, it is maybe the most offensive thing that Trump has ever said. It's more offensive than whatever they think he did with these women. It's more offensive than what he did when they claim he mocked a disabled reporter. This, to say he's going to wait for the outcome of the election to decide how he wants to approach it. Why, this may constitute the single greatest assault on freedom as we have known it, if you listen to these people. And there's no exception. Every one of them. Hundreds, thousands of reporters and media people and professional political people around the country all act and think the same way. And it just doesn't make sense. Unless there's something going on that we don't know. Because this is not rational behavior. It's not a rational reaction. And it's further emphasized by Trump going out the next day and jamming them by saying, okay, I'll accept the results if I win. That's designed to make them explode after they've been simmering all night. He's toying with them. He's tweaking them. I know it well. I do it all the time. I sometimes even tell you in advance when they're going to tweak the media here. And I can do it anytime I want. They fall for it. Even if they know I'm going to do it, I can make them freak out and go get the vapors. And I think it has to do with they must really think they've got a tentative hold on whatever it is they think of themselves as being members of the establishment, the youthful, young, small club of elites. I mean, whatever it is, they must think their hold on it is tentative. Because, man, it seems like they really think it's can be taken away from them. Like that. So what are they really afraid of? Well, they're afraid of rigged election. They're out there saying Trump is impugning hundreds of years of American tradition. Donald Trump is such a reprobate. Donald Trump is such scum. Donald Trump is such human debris. He's challenging the integrity of one of the greatest traditions of America. How dare it? Yet the Democrats constantly engage in the very behavior they accuse Trump of engaging in. They out alleging or alleging that this was fraudulent, that was cheated from them, that was taken away from them, as though somehow they are the paragons of virtue in all this. It's laughable. The idea that, these are the people stand in the way of every idea to take fraud out of elections. They oppose every idea, every great idea to remove fraud from elections. They oppose it. Such as photo IDs, purging the voter rolls of people who've passed away. It's the Democrats who stand out. No, you can't take dead people off the roll. Why not? Is this clutter? They can't vote? Well, you can't do it. Wonder why. Photo ID, it's racist. It's racist to demand a photo ID. How in the hell is that racist? Well, black people know the history of this country. You make them go down to City Hall. You make them go down to a big, giant government building and tell them they have to pose for a picture. Damn right, they think they're going to be sent back to the next plantation. Are you kidding me? This is what they say. You can't do photo ID because it'll bring about horrible memories of generations ago in Plantation South. And we can't do that. It's too traumatic. We can't have African Americans being asked to go to a federal building to pose for a picture. Well, how many times have they had to do it anyway? They go to federal buildings for a whole bunch of other reasons. They go to state government buildings for a whole lot of, some of them to work, some of them for other reasons. What do you mean you can't go there to get a picture? Well, it's too horrible. It's just too traumatic. So any effort to get rid of voter fraud, they oppose. But I think this is classic. What's in the news today. Yeah, I'm going to get to the Al Smith dinner in a minute. Hang on, just be patient. We've still got an hour, 45 minutes to go here. And I guarantee you what I have to say about the Al Smith dinner you haven't heard yet. The odds are. And we're going to have sound bites of Trump at his rally here in North Carolina. I'll tell you this Al Smith dinner, one thing. Trump had no chance. Did you see the people behind it? Who was in that room? Every damn person in that room except for Rudy Giuliani. Every damn one of them looked like the biggest tight ass I have seen in I don't know how long. And it's New York. And you may not know this, but New York doesn't like Trump. He's from Queens. He's from Queens. He's not from Manhattan. He doesn't have a place in the Hamptons, if you note. No. His golf course, they're in Westchester, over in New Jersey, but he doesn't have a place in the Hamptons where all of them go. Trump's an interloper in Manhattan. Trump is gauche. He's embarrassing. He flaunts his wealth with all the gold leaf in his penthouse apartment and his model wife and so forth. These are people who read the New York Times and believe it every day. You think they're going to laugh at something at the Donald Trump speech? These people wipe themselves with the New York Times, and it's an honor when they do it. And they're sitting there and they're politely chomping on their food, and then Trump says something. You can see they want to burp and belch, and some of them, get off the stage, you're embarrassing. What did he say? I don't have the exact word, but he said, I find it strange here. We're at a Catholic charity seated with Mrs. Clinton, who don't even like Catholics. Ooh, you're not supposed to say that. Why not? Well, it just isn't proper. What if it happens to be true? Well, it hasn't been in the New York Times, so it can't be true. But it's in a WikiLeaks email dump. Her whole campaign makes fun of and mocks the Catholic Church. The whole Democrat Party has assaulted the Catholic Church politically. And Trump can't point it out? Nope, can't point it out. Violation of protocol. Violation of decency. Violation of standards. Even people on our side would say the same thing. It's just beneath a dignity of people who would attend the Al Smith thing. You just can't do it. You're supposed to make fun of yourself. You're not supposed to make fun of other people. Okay, so what you see is what you get. This is a guy who's not part of that establishment. He's an outsider. He's invited to go to this thing because it's a tradition. Why should he go into this thing and be somebody he's not? Because that's what you have to do, Rush, in life. You sometimes have to. Well, he's running for president. His opponent's sitting in there. Why make phony nice? Why make fake nice? Trump doesn't waste his time with that, from what I understand. So, but I mean, just look at some of these people. And you know, I've watched previous Al Smith dinners, like George W. Bush in there making jokes about himself, about his lack of intelligence. They loved it. Of course they're going to applaud that. Did it get him elected? Did they walk out of it thinking, man, we didn't know this guy was such a great guy? No, they hate him just as much as the moment he walked in. He behaved as he was supposed to. He did great self-deprecating humor, and he played the type. He let everybody know he's an idiot. That's what they wanted to hear. Well, you got to remember who's in this audience. It's not so much the Catholic Church. It's a Catholic, Al Smith, it's a Catholic charity dinner. But this audience, look, these are the people. I've been to their dinner parties when they tap me on the chest. What are you going to do about the Christians? These are the people that take me over to the window and point out at Central Park and say, when are you going to help us get rid of the guns? That's who's in there. That's who it is. What, you think I'm going too far here, Mr. Snerdley? It's the New York elite. Folks, that's exactly who they are. And Trump, that's no different than a bull in a china shop last night. That's exactly what it was going to be. Now, Democrats are worried about cheating, right? Democrats are worried about the election being rigged. Why? Because Trump claims that it's going to be rigged. Trump's out there saying that if he loses, it's rigged. You know, and they're this is funny in itself. You know what they're thinking? That this is because Trump knows he's going to lose. And so Trump, in his own mind, can't lose. Trump is so sick. Trump has such an out-of-control ego that Trump is so out of touch with the reality, he can't possibly lose. So that if he does, it's going to be rigged. And see, Trump knows he's going to lose, and so he's out there giving everybody on his side, all of his supporters, he's telling them right now it's rigged because in his mind he can't legitimately lose an election. So they're trying to construct this picture where Trump knows he's going to lose. But he's such a sick, narcissistic egomaniac that he can't handle losing, like Al Gore can, for example. He can't handle losing, so he's already blaming the system. That's what he's doing. And in the process, he is also tarnishing and besmirching and ripping to shreds our precious election system where there is never any cheating and there's never any fraud and there's never any... And this guy is coming along and poisoning everything we hold dear. I'm telling you, the reaction to this is akin to a bunch of people that are on the verge of getting caught. So what do we have here? From Reuters, U.S. vote authorities warned to be alert to Russian hacks faking fraud. Wait till you hear this story, folks. Wait till you hear. This is panic. Yeah, that's what here is Hillary in public pretending she likes Catholics. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, double whammy. Could it be, let me run something by you, folks, because this, for the second in a row I say this hysterical reaction to Trump's essentially common sense and harmless answer. When you get right down to it, Trump, did you hear Trump say that he was going to definitely refuse to accept the outcome? No. Had he done that, the story the next day would have been Trump concedes election at final debate. Okay, so why the hysteria? They know he didn't say what they want you to think he said. Why the hysteria? There has to be a reason for this hysteria, folks. This is not normal. This massive, identical reaction from hundreds of people is hysterical. Why? Could it be, just posing a possibility, could it be that what they actually heard Trump say was this: you know you're cheating, and I know you're cheating, and I'm not going to act like your average Republican loser and let you get away with it? Could that have been what they heard? When Trump said, stand by, let's wait and see, could they have heard Trump actually say, look, you guys, I know you're cheating, and you know you've cheated. Or I know you've cheated, and you know you've cheated. And I'm not your average Republican loser that isn't going to challenge you on it. Maybe they heard something like that. Something has to explain this fear, this hysteria. And I've still got to get to this Reuters story here. This is classic, and I've got to get back to your calls. That's all coming up. Great to have you folks on Open Line Friday. Okay, there are two stories. There is one story out that says this: Trump's rigged election comments are a gift to dictators, say Africans. And it cites Kenya, where Obama's cousin rejected an election result. So what they're trying to do here with this story is say that Trump's comments on the election being rigged are providing aid and comfort to African dictators. Trump is responsible, therefore, for African dictators who may seize even more power. Donald Trump's responsible for this. Then there is this story. U.S., and this is utterly shameless. I mean, this is Reuters. U.S. vote authorities warned to be alert to Russian hacks faking fraud, officials. Now, let me ask you a question here. Does Hillary Clinton think she's going to lose? Do these Democrats think they're going to lose? Why in the world is she and her media spending so much time establishing the possibility that the Russian government is trying to give the election to Trump? First, it's Russia, and there are 17 independent intelligence agencies and probably 1,500 independent experts of both parties, isn't that how this works, who all agree that the Russians are responsible for hacking Podesta's email and then giving it to Julian Assange at WikiLeaks. Must be really worried what's in those hacks. And Donna Brazile comes along and says, I know what it means to be persecuted. I'm a Christian woman. You're not going to get it out of me, Kelly. So Donna Brazile's able to get out of jail with a Christian card. Doesn't work for Christian bakeries. Doesn't work for Christian photographers. But Donna Brazile says, I'm a Christian. You can't ask me this. I'm a Christian. You can't accuse me of this. I'm a Christian. I can't possibly be guilty of this. But I know what it means to be persecuted as a Christian woman. Doesn't work for bakeries. Doesn't work for photographers. Doesn't work for pizzerias. But they're spending a lot of time here establishing the possibility that the Russian government is going to rig the election for Trump. But wait. At the same time, they tell us that it's not possible to engage in the amount of vote fraud that would be necessary to actually fake a presidential election. Charles Krauthammer has made this point. He's right. Krauthammer's made this point. Any number of people have made the point that the presidential election is so massive that it would be impossible to engage in enough fraud to actually change the results of a presidential election. Now, that has not stopped the Democrats in 2004 accusing it of happening. This is one of the funniest elections in my life. 2004, horse-faced John Kerry loses, but the exit polls showed him winning. So when he ended up losing, a bunch of Democrats ran around and claimed that Kerry actually won because the exit polls said so, which must have meant the votes were fake. The votes had to be fraudulent. And Kerry said all it would have taken is 50,000 vote swing in Ohio and I would have won. That's all? 50,000. That's a lot of votes to cheat. And all of the establishment types, folks, are saying this idea, and they're saying this to ridicule Trump. Don't forget, Trump's out there. He is saying that the election could be rigged. He's saying it. And their rejoinder to that, after ridiculing him for thinking such a thing, is to then point out it's not possible. You've heard it. I've heard it. They're out there saying you couldn't do it. Presidential election, too massive. I mean, there's way too many polling places. The number of votes that we're talking about, it's just impossible to cheat that much. Then why are they afraid of the Russians doing it? Why are they afraid that the Russians are rigging the election for Trump if it can't be done? And the reason they say it can't be done is because they obviously want to protect the integrity of the whole process. I mean, I totally understand them not coming out claiming you could do it. Can you imagine if these establishment types actually said in response to Trump, well, you know what, these races, they could be fixed. Can you imagine the reaction to that? If anybody in the establishment, an elected official, a media person, anybody, a Wall Street banker, if anybody came out, damn well these elections can be fixed. Can you imagine? So of course they have to say it's not possible. I just find it's contradictory and hypocritical, because on the one hand over here, they admonish Trump. This is silly. You couldn't fake. You couldn't trick. You couldn't rig a presidential election. And then we have this story from Reuters. U.S. intelligence and law enforcement officials are warning that hackers with ties to Russia's intelligence services could try to undermine the credibility of the presidential election by posting documents online purporting to show evidence of voter fraud. Could Obama and Hillary be any more obvious here? Credibility of the presidential election? They worry that the Russians, because the Russians are leaking the WikiLeaks emails of Podesta, that the Russians could post documents online showing evidence of voter fraud. Why? It's not possible. You all keep telling us it's not possible to rig something as large as a presidential election. And yet here's one of their house organs, Reuters, with a story claiming that the Obama administration and the Hillary campaign are worried that the Russians are going to leak. Let me, if you're not quite sure what this is, let me give you just a straight analogy. What they're claiming here is that at some point down the road before the election, some documents purporting to be from the Democrat Party, let's say, are going to detail exactly how to cheat and win, say, Florida, or win Ohio, or win North Carolina. And so Obama and Hillary and Reuters and the media are warning us that this could happen. Does this not reek of paranoia? Because, again, they keep telling us it isn't possible, that Trump's foolish, that Trump's paranoid, that Trump's a nutcase, that Trump needs to be in a straitjacket in an insane asylum in a padded cell. You can't rig elections. And yet, here's Reuters. Obama and Hillary really worried the Russians might leak documents purporting to claim that the Democrats have engaged in fraud. People, I wonder, how do they know? Again, this is one of these things. Who would ever think of something like this? They may be doing this if they can conceive that it could happen. The Russians here, the Russians there. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Think of that movie back in the 1960s or 70s with Alan Arkin in it. It could be, I know, maybe the cover story is getting out early for what they really plan to do, to discredit it before it happens. Okay, so let's say they plan on doing this. Okay, They know it's going to come out, so they tell everybody, be on the lookout for a Russian hack, so that when it does come out, everybody poo-poos it. Oh, it's just a Russian hack. They told us this is coming. Nothing to see here. After they've already done it. Why do I feel like this election is just beginning today? Let me ask you this question, folks. The polling data all shows Trump losing in a landslide, right? So what happens if Trump wins? And let's say Trump wins a narrow victory. Say he gets 285 electoral votes or 280, 275, whatever. Do you think they're just going to sit there and accept it for the honor of the tradition of accepting election results? They've got themselves convinced because of their own polls that they're looking at a landslide of Goldwater proportions here. They think Hillary may get 500 electoral votes. If Trump, folks, there'll be rioting the election night. And we will witness the dignified and accepting tradition of going with the outcome of an election, as we have come to expect. By the way, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, actually got a New York election official to admit how they engage in voter fraud in New York, where they win everything anyway. It's a Democrat election official, and he happily explains how they cheat in an undercover video. Even if they win everything in New York, Republicans may as well not even exist there. Okay, to the phones we go. Joe in San Antonio, Texas. I'm glad you waited, sir. You're next on Open Line Friday. Hi.
Oh, thank you, sir. U.S. Air Force retired Apple fanboy. Rush 24/7 dittos to you.
Well, you got it covered. You do. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And, I was listening to you discuss Mr. Kramer's prison biography or prison effort at a psychological operation up against the U.S. Population. And I thought, notoriously, those kind of things are hard to control. And if it's been going on since Alinsky time, it also occurred to me that some of this stuff might actually account for the rise in popularity of talk radio, or as you would like to say, my beloved little fuzzball of a host.
Harmless, lovable little fuzzball of a host, yes. How's that? How do you figure that?
Well, if there's people attempting to resist the psychological operation and they're trying to find a voice that sounds like theirs or what they're thinking, that's been a comment that a lot of your listeners say a lot, is that I turned on your radio and I'm listening to you because you say the things that I've been thinking and I can't find them anywhere else.
Well, that's true. That especially it was true in the first 5 years, 10 years of the program. It's exactly right. People felt that what they already believed was being validated by somebody on the radio saying it. His point here, he's talking about, folks, the pamphlet that was a little book written by the convicted felon and Democrat Alinskyite, Robert Kramer. This is the guy that went to the White House 340 times, met with Obama over 40 times. This is the guy that bought and paid the homeless and other mobsters to show up at Trump rallies and start fights, set fires outside to make it look like it was Trump supporters doing this. He wrote a piece in a Democrat playbook back in 2007 expressing that the objective was psychological, was to make conservatives feel woefully outnumbered and turn inward and defeatist and fatalistic, hopeless, that they were so rare, that there were so few conservatives, they're just so widely outnumbered that they just give up. And then that creates so much unrest that conservatives start fighting amongst themselves over who's to blame for losing so badly to the left. And he says it's all a technique. And I don't want to spend any time on that now. You can find that at rushlimbaugh.com. It was the first hour of the program today. Find it on the website because it's really, really worth, if you missed it, it's worth knowing and understanding. Explains everything. And I've known it was going along instinctively for all of these years, and this was confirmation why I spent so much time on it today. Here next is Ron in Tucson. You're next, sir. Hi.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Limbaugh. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet, sir.
I have a number of points to make. I don't know if you're going to give me enough time. But in any case, I would like to start with Hillary Clinton. Why should we believe Hillary Clinton that the Russians are meddling in the American election when she lied to us in regard to Benghazi, when she told us one story and she told the real story to her daughter and to other head officials? That's item number one.
It's a good point.
Item number two. If anybody is meddling in the elections, believe it or not, America has meddled in the Israeli elections when the White House and the State Department sent millions upon millions of dollars to Israel to be against Bibi Netanyahu.
This is true.
His regime, and to vote against Bibi Netanyahu. He sent advisors, the White House sent advisors to Israel and not to vote for Bibi Netanyahu. Now, that's another thing. One more item that I would like to make a point, and that is on the Second Amendment. If Hillary wants to take away our Second Amendment, the right to have guns, why shouldn't she take away also our pens, scissors, kitchen detergent, Drano, all of those things they can kill. So it's about time.
No, you left out the wheel. The wheel kills more people than any gun ever has.
Yeah, you know, if we, the Jews, during World War II, we would have weapons, probably the outcome would be much different than it actually was. Very true.
Very true. And if people had gotten with the program a little sooner. Look, Ron, I appreciate it. You got it all in. You were worried that I wouldn't give you enough time, but you have the gift of brevity and a soul of wit. And so you made it within the constraints of the programming format with time to spare. Well done. He's right. It was the Obama campaign team that was dispatched to Israel with money and expertise designed to overthrow Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And now, my friends, on a brief timeout, and we return after this. By the way, here's another question. If it apparently so easy for the Russians to hack the Democrat National Committee server, and so easy for the Russians to hack John Podesta's email, why didn't Hillary use a secure server, one of the State Department? Why did she use one of these basement homebrew jobs if the Russians are so damn good at hacking everything? It doesn't seem like she cared much back then, but now the Russians are responsible for it all. Okay, folks, it's Friday, and we've only got an hour left until Monday. No big deal, but we just got to hurry here, so let's go. Listen fast.
Live from the Southern Command in sunny South Florida, it's Open Line Friday.
Trump and Clinton, tight race, Ohio. Trump and Clinton, tight race, Florida. Trump and Clinton, tight race, Pennsylvania. Trump and Clinton, tight race, Colorado. Trump and Clinton, tight race, Georgia. Polls. Hillary wins in a landslide by 15. What doesn't work here? The news today is how every state, battleground states, are tight. Okay, folks. We are back. El Rushbo behind the golden EIB microphone, 800-282-2882. Audio soundbite time. We're going to start here at the top. My reaction yesterday to Trump's statement on Monday night that he was going to withhold any action until the election results are actually in. This is where this unanimous hysterical reaction all over Washington, New York, hell, all over the country. Trump said he's not going to accept the results of the election. Trump's going to pee on 200 years of American tradition. Remember the reaction to it. So I was among the most prominent voices expressing incredulity and shock over this unanimous hysteria. So naturally, on some of these networks, my comments were played for reaction by expert analysts. And Fox was one of these places. Dr. Krauthammer reacted, and then the Fox and Friends crew. So let's go. This is from the special report with Bret Baier last night. Bret Baier introduced a clip of me criticizing. Did I criticize Krauthammer by? I may have, because it says here I criticized Krauthammer by saying Charles. Bret Baier says, Charles, we heard your comments last night after the debate about this whole rigged comment. There's a lot of fallout back and forth today. Here's what Rush Limbaugh said. There isn't anybody who really thinks Donald Trump doesn't respect the traditions of America or American elections. There isn't a soul out there. This is people trying to convince low-information voters and others who aren't paying attention that Donald Trump is some alien from outer space who wants to blow up the greatest traditions of American elections and politics and so forth. Pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty much what I said. I mean, it is exactly what I said. I said more. I extrapolated and added to it. And basically said, look, this hysteria here is a little bit over the top. Because they all know what Trump said. I'm now revised my thinking. I think they heard Trump say something else. There has to be something along those lines to explain it. What if, let me just repeat this, what if what they heard Trump say, you all heard it, he said, check with me later. Mr. Trump, will you accept the outcome of the election? Check with me later. Panic ensues. What if what they actually heard was Trump saying, look, you know you're cheating, and I know you're cheating, and I'm not going to be your average Republican patsy, just lay down if it happens. Something has to explain it. Anyway, here is Krauthammer's reaction after Bret Baier plays that
this,
clip.
For days, he's been telling rallies, this election is pre-cooked, it's rigged, it's unfair, and it's about to be stolen from us. Now, when you say that and you couple it with, I won't know what I'll do, I'll figure it out at the time, then you have a threat to the tradition. The idea of a national election stolen, which would require an enormous conspiracy, which, of course, Trump is also invoking, a global conspiracy involving the banks, the Democrats, and who knows who else, to rig an American election. It's not plausible. He has not presented any facts, and he is shaking a fundamental principle of our democracy, which is the peaceful transition, which requires the open recognition of the legitimacy of an election by the loser. And that is something that he obviously threatened.
Oh, they think he did. They obviously think he did. They obviously think he threatened to not accept the fact that he lost, if he does. I know for a fact, well, I don't know for a fact, I'm fairly almost ontological certitude certain that if Trump had answered that question the way they want, the whole story that night and the next day would be Trump essentially conceded the election last night, Megan. We all heard it right here on the Fox News channel, expertly moderated by our own Chris Wallace. You heard when Trump answered the question. It's pretty much admitted he didn't have any prayer here. If he's already conceding the election, what must he really know in terms of how bad it's going to be? You know they would have run with the story that way. Besides, he didn't say it. Anyway, so now we go to a different sector of Fox. Fox and Friends this morning talked about basically the same thing. To set it up, here's the co-host, Pete Hegseth, introducing and playing the clip.
The American people, again, they hear at the debate something very different than the media freaks out about. And as he oftentimes does, Rush Limbaugh, does a great job of channeling what I think the American people read from Donald Trump. This is what Rush Limbaugh had to say.
Anybody in their right mind knows that Donald Trump was not promising a civil war. He was not promising to blow up the country. He was not promising to not accept the results if he lost. And these people know it, folks. The people stirring this up know full well. Why should he concede that? Why should he foreclose that? Why should anybody running against the Democrats foreclose that? Given what has already happened in this cycle, given what we've learned from the Project Veritas videos of James O'Keefe, given what we've learned from the WikiLeaks email dumps consisting of things from John Podesta, smart thing to do. And here is the response from the Fox and Friends crew. We have Steve Doocy, Hegseth again, Ainsley Earhart.
He is such a pro. He talked right up to the commercial.
He did. Yeah. It reminded me of that first Fox debate when he raised his hand. It was just honest. I don't know if I'll
I'm not going to pledge to that
He said, are you going to contest the election? Maybe. If it's rigged or there's things that are wrong, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you can't hold it against him if he's being honest.
Right. That's Ainsley Earhart. You can't hold it against him. Well, not to beat a dead horse, but you heard Dr. Krauthammer. They heard Trump say that he was not going to accept if he lost. That's what they heard him say. Well, Krauthammer, you say he's an avowed never. He had his column today. Is he's not? Oh, okay. He's not going to vote for either of them. Dr. Krauthammer. Oh, I didn't see that column today. So Dr. Krauthammer doesn't know who to write in. Well, all right. Anyway, then it's clear that certain members of the establishment, for some reason, feel really threatened here. And by the way, you heard Dr. Krauthammer say it would require a massive conspiracy to do this, and it would involve too many people. It just couldn't be done, and he doesn't have any evidence of it. Well, Mrs. Clinton apparently does, because the Democrats are running around. They've got this story from Reuters today. They're running around making it look like that we should look for leaked documents in the future, that the Russians have hacked or rigged the election. They're already setting up the premise. Why do this if you think you're going to win? Why in the world? They actually, their polls show them winning in a landslide. Why would you even put it out there? Why would you go to your buddies at Reuters and say, write us a story that the Russians are planning on leaking some documents that will purport to show how the election has been rigged? Why would you do that if you're going to win big? Why would you even introduce the idea? It's not just Trump talking about it, but I think they're misunderstanding the way Trump's keeping his people fired up, the way Trump is trying to keep his base together. He knows who they are. There's a great piece today. Selena Zito is back, and she has a piece in the New York Post, Why Trump's Fall Will Hit Hard. Populism isn't ideology, it's energy. It is entitled and noble, naive and skeptical, good-willed, dangerous, and it's not going away anytime soon, all at the same time. Both the Republicans and the Democrats experienced populism in the primaries, but Republicans actually nominated a populist candidate, in part because their party leadership was seen as insufficiently concerned about the issues driving a large segment of the party's grassroots. Yet, if folks think that this current variant of populism is just based on economic resentment or racism, they're vastly oversimplifying it. Instead, they should be spending the time to understand all of the populist forces at work here. Why are many people, particularly white working-class men, attracted to Trump? Is it economics? Is it racism? Is it something deeper? Well, there's an important social and cultural element to this populism that's often misidentified as simple racism. It is more what one might call patriotic chauvinism reflected in Trump's America First rhetoric. See, they're trying to impugn Trump supporters by saying it's just a bunch of white racists who are fed up with the fact that people of color are becoming a demographic majority. That's what the Democrat Party is putting out there. That's what Hillary, her campaign, the whole Democrat apparatus and the media, in trying to explain Trump, they say his supporters are a bunch of racists. They're a bunch of old, toothless, white hayseeds worried that colored people, brown people, red people, black people are taking over the country. They're a race. That's what they're saying. That is how they characterize the Trump voter. And Selena Zito is saying they're missing it as badly as it can be missed. It's not about race. It's about what kind of country we're going to have. It's about what they are doing to this country. It is about how we define America in the early 21st century. It goes on to describe who Obama really is as a community organizer, was graduated from elite universities, spent a lot of his youth growing up overseas, abroad. First president to begin his term by going to Europe and declaring himself a proud citizen of the U.S. and a fellow citizen of the world. And while Obama is out there wanting to be president, citizen of the world, we're losing to China, we're losing to Japan, we're losing our jobs, we're losing our border, while Obama and the Democrats seem happy about it and think it's progress. A lot of Americans don't think it's progress. They think it's disaster. It isn't about racism. Democrats like to reduce everything to racism. She writes that today's populist backlash began with the rise of the Tea Party in 2009, whose own attempt to make America great again focused on constitutional restoration. Much of the media sneered at that movement, too, using the sexual innuendo of teabaggers and dismissing critiques of Obamacare as naive. The Tea Party movement arose spontaneously, without any centralized structure or figure. And because of this, it scared the hell out of people, and it seemed to be dissolving on its own. There's no leader whose fortunes we can track, so the Tea Party seems to have dissolved on its own. But the anger and the sense that some things are not right has not gone away. It's still out there, effervescing, and soon to break through the surface if it hasn't already. Then here's the meat of this. She says a Trump defeat will be incredibly difficult for his supporters to accept. Not that all of them admire him as a person. It isn't going to be that they are personally devastated if Trump loses. Because, and as I have pointed out continually on this program, it never really has been about Trump. Trump is the vessel for what this is really about. And that's why they are not going to succeed, the left, in stripping Trump supporters away from him, because it isn't about him. It's about what his candidacy presents as an opportunity, and they're not going to let the left dispatch it and toss it aside like they're able to toss every other Republican candidacy aside. Therefore, because Trump's campaign is much more about what he represents than it is about him, pushing back against what those supporters see as nothing less than the end of the United States as they know it. And that's why this, if Trump loses, it's going to be profoundly tragic to hit. It's going to hit hard to these people. They're not going to be sad Trump personally lost. They're going to be devastated that this candidacy represented nothing less than the last chance to preserve the country as they know it. I think she's right about this as regards many people who are supporting and planning on voting for Trump. And I will guarantee you that the elites in the Republican and Democrat Party, this is foreign language. The idea that what kind of country we're going to have is at stake here. They laugh at that. It's absurd, they believe. Last chance to preserve the country as we know it? They think that's insane. They don't think there's any kind of crisis at all, particularly like that. That's why they've never really extended a lot of effort to stopping Obama. They don't think there's a crisis, and for them there isn't. I mean, they're going to have their exalted membership in the establishment no matter who wins. Even if they, on our side, will be the Washington Generals, they will still be in the club, and they will still have their connections, and their kids' futures will be okay. So for them, the idea that this campaign is about the future of the country and preserving it as we've known, they laugh at that. And it's just another reason why the whole Trump persona and campaign totally escapes them. We will be back, folks. Don't go away. Open Line Friday. It's back to the phones we go. We got audio of Trump's appearance in Ohio coming up. But first, Mike in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Great to have you with us, sir. Hi.
Hello, Rush. Thank you for taking my call. It's quite an honor. I have a question for you, but I'd like to give just a tiny bit of background first, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's all relevant. I'm a longtime student of yours. Thank you for all the insight and the wisdom over the years.
Thank you, sir.
As a well-informed voter, I am absolutely terrified at the prospect of Hillary Clinton winning the election. And as such, I use that terror. I am a get-out-the-vote volunteer. And I do a fair job of that. I talk to people and get them to, undecided voters to vote for Trump. I've even gotten a couple of Democrats to vote for Trump. I turned them into Trumpocrats.
Very cool.
And it's surprisingly easy. All you have to do is a little bit of insight and information. It's amazing how many people do not know about the scandals, the Clinton scandals and so forth. For example, the uranium scandal with the Russians, where Hillary gave away 20% of the production of uranium in the United States away to the Russians. Okay, as an example, nobody knows about that. When I let them know about this, they convert rather easy. Okay?
That is one of the many scandals that was produced by the book Clinton Cash by Peter Schweitzer. And by the way, these WikiLeaks dumps are documenting practically everything Schweitzer wrote. Everything in Schweitzer's book, and we didn't need it documented. We knew it was true. That book nails the Clintons, but you're right. The drive-bys are not reporting it. They don't have him on as a guest to explain it. They ignore it or try to ridicule it. A man, a legend, a way of life. Meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. Trump in Fletcher, North Carolina this afternoon. We have 3 sound bites from the big rally.
Rasmussen, Los Angeles Times, and Investors Business Daily. We're leading. And by the way, the last one was, as they tell me, the most accurate poll of the last cycle. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Because I believe we're going to win. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. I think we're going to have beyond Brexit. I think we'll call it beyond Brexit. You know about Brexit. I think we're going to have that. We have something. We're so close. It's a movement like they've never seen in this country before. Never, ever seen. Don't blow it on November 8th. Together, we're going to deliver real change that puts America first.
I don't know how many of you watch these rallies. Fox now and then carries a decent portion. Sometimes all of them, but you can watch all of them on YouTube, various channels on the World Wide Web. Of those of you, and I know many of you in this audience watch them, do you wish Trump would go a different direction at times in them, or are you satisfied with them? I mean, here we are, 18, 19 days away. Does it bother you Trump still talking about trade deals and China and Japan? You wish Trump would try to move the needle with some other topics, particularly telling people who she is? I'm just asking. If I were telling you what I thought you would know, I'm just asking. Here's the next bite from the
She
rally.
was given the questions to a debate by Donna Brazile, who is now under pressure to resign. She should be. She should resign. But I ask you, why didn't Hillary say, I can't do this? I can't do this. I can't take these questions. Nobody from the media is asking that question. Why didn't she say, I'm not allowed to do this? Hillary Clinton is the most corrupt politician ever to seek the office of the presidency.
This goes on for 20 seconds. Lock her up. Lock her up. This embarrasses the establishment.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this. November 8th, let's win. Let's win.
And the third soundbite from the Trump rally today at Fletcher, North Carolina. There are two other rallies like this the rest of the day. Maybe a third. Maybe a total of 4 today. But here's this one.
It's time to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. I am going to push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Not only will we end government corruption, but we will end economic stagnation. My plan for the economy can be summed up in 3 great, beautiful, powerful words. Jobs, jobs, jobs. They've been taken away from us.
Okay, so those are the 3 bites from the Trump rally today. Fletcher, North Carolina. It's dangerously close to Asheville, which is the equivalent of Moscow on the Hudson in North Carolina. It's a toss-up, Asheville and Chapel Hill. So Trump's point is he's gone to the belly of the beast for these rallies. Here's Ken in Lake County, California, on Open Line Friday. You're next, sir. Hello.
Hey, Limbaugh. How you doing?
I'm just fine. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's Nervy's a great guy. I love this Open Line Friday format, Rush. Last time I think we talked, I was on the tarmac with Jeffrey Epstein.
Last time we talked, you were on the tarmac with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I did get Clinton back there. Okay, let me get to my point. I'm sorry. Don't believe the polls. Trump's going to win. And here's why. He did something Romney and McCain couldn't do. He has shored up the single-issue voter base. The conservative base is all Trump's. The evangelicals, they didn't turn on him. The pro-life people, when he said he's going to nominate pro-life judges, they're on the bandwagon. The immigration, the wall, get the drugs out and the bad hombres, they're all over him. And military, peace through strength and take care of our vets. Trump has shored up that conservative base. And number 5, he's going against the most despised, the most hated person ever to seek office in the United States.
Well, some think that's Trump. Some in the establishment think that. You mean Hillary, obviously.
Definitely Hillary, and her negatives are too high.
Okay, no, that's true. Her negatives are higher than any Democrat who has ever been elected and ever run. But let me ask you a question based on your theory that the base has come together and been unified. Because it's a good way of looking at it. You think he's wrapped up the pro-lifers, the evangelicals, he's got the Second Amendment crowd, he's got the basic ideological conservatives you think wrapped up, he's got the military. When I talked to Mitt Romney and when I talked to Marco Rubio in late last year, Romney back in 2012, they both told me, and Rand Paul, 3 different Republicans told me, Ken, that the Republican Party cannot win the White House anymore with just conservative and Republican votes.
No, that's what's going to get them elected.
There aren't enough of them. Those three guys told me, Romney, Rand Paul, and Marco Rubio, they're not enough. We're outnumbered. We can't win this without picking up a bunch of independents.
Well, they stayed home on single issues for Romney and McCain, okay? They're not staying home. They're behind Trump, big time. And Hillary ticked off a big voting bloc, Reagan Democrats, when she ticked off Catholics. She doesn't know what she started there, because in Illinois and Milwaukee, there's a huge Catholic population. And if she loses Illinois right around Chicago, she ain't going to win anything.
Well, you're the first I've heard say that she could lose Illinois.
Well, there's a huge Catholic population around Chicago metropolitan.
But look, for example, the Catholic people of Catholic faith are not. You would expect them to be pretty unified on the pro-life side of it, but they're not. There are all kinds of choice Catholics. Yeah. So what is it about Hillary that's causing Catholics to unite for Trump?
Because of what she said, the emails come out, the WikiLeaks, how they look at Christians, how they really singled out Catholics. And, you know, if they had access or the media reported what she said, she would be toast. Did you see the debates, Rush? The last two?
Yeah.
Okay. Every time Trump hit a nerve that he brought up the foundation or this and that,
yes,
she had no answer for it.
That's true.
She went into that phony fixed smile on her face. And, I'm out here in California. I'm on my first glass of Chardonnay, but I had to do a double take. She looked like Alfred E. Newman with a blonde gray wig.
She didn't refute anything he said about what's in the WikiLeaks dumps. She didn't refute anything about her campaign being responsible for so much of the women coming forward, plaguing him, and some of the other things, disrupting rallies that he's had. He accused her campaign of being behind it. She didn't say anything. She didn't defend it. She didn't try to reject it. Just let it go.
No, but the biggest point he made when he said you take money from these countries that throw gays off of buildings.
Yeah, he did.
He returned the money. She didn't. Did she answer that?
No. He reamed her on the foundation.
That was huge. And now she wants to let in all these Syrians that are responsible for acts like what happened in Orlando.
And open borders. She's for open borders, but she was talking about electricity. You heard that, right? She just...
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah, the Energizer is up in Chappaqua.
Right.
Electricity. Hey, Rush, I got to leave you, man, but I'm going to say this. We've had a huge loss the last month.
Well, see, I like your confidence. You think there's a whole bunch of things going on that nobody's reporting and thus nobody actually seeing that equals a whole bunch of support for Trump that's building out there underneath the surface.
Oh, he's going to win. It ain't going to be a landslide, but it's not going to be close. He will win by a substantial margin. This is going to, November 8th and 9th, the Democrats are going to be in shock.
No, they're also going to be on the protest march and burning things down if you're right about this. The bigger, the worse. The bigger it is, the worse it's going to be. And you're going to hear a bunch of stuck pigs start talking about rigged elections and fraudulent votes. All these people want to appear holier than thou. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because I'm telling you, all these polls, though, I mean the ones that show Hillary up 10 to 12 to 13 points, I'm trying to be very careful. I don't want to be responsible here for false optimism, but at the same time, I do want to tell you the way I see this, or the way I react to it. I don't see behavior and attitude commensurate with people who think it's over and that they're going to win big to the point that Trump's going to be humiliated. But yet that's what they're saying is going to happen. Their media people are acting this way. I mean, the people on CNN, all the guests, they're all acting cocky as they can be. It's over and so. But the campaign people are not. And maybe that's smart. Maybe you never count your chickens before the eggs hatched or whatever. And maybe that's what they're doing. But as arrogant as these people naturally are, and as conceited as they naturally are, they have to work at suppressing their contempt for us and their arrogance. It's something, I don't know. I'm not seeing things that aren't there. Don't misunderstand. Have to take a break, folks. Back with more after this. I want you to hear this soundbite from Trump last night at the Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation dinner. Remember now, most of the people in this crowd resent the fact that Trump even showed up. They're like everybody else in the establishment. They resent their New York elites. The New York Times even referred to the audience as New York elites in its headline. They're not even happy Trump is there. Well, except for Rudy Giuliani. He was there. Here is just one. It's about 54 seconds, so we got to squeeze this in.
How corrupt you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission. Pretty corrupt. Hillary is and has been in politics since the 70s. What's her pitch? The economy is busted. The government's corrupt. Washington is failing. Vote for me. I've been working on these problems for 30 years. I can fix it, she says. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary. You're right. For example, here she is tonight in public pretending not to hate Catholics.
They never boo at this. Folks, they never boo at this dinner. The reason they are booing is because Trump didn't follow protocol. He came in there and campaigned. And you're not supposed to do that at this dinner. You're supposed to make fun of yourself and tell everybody in there, particularly if you're a Republican, what a joke you are. And he didn't do it. He got booed, and I bet it was an honor for him. You have to remember, the people at the Albert Smith dinner only read the New York Times. They don't know about Hillary Clinton and the art of deceit. They don't know that she's a liar. They don't know anything about her except what's in the New York Times. They don't know what she has said and her campaign about the Catholic Church. They don't know. So Trump is the reprobate for pointing it out to them. Now, he was campaigning. He was still fighting in that appearance last night. That's what that was. See you on Monday, folks. Cheerio.